Hello and welcome to Awaz News. I'm Kubra Ali and I'll be taking you through big news across Canada. Flying wheel leaves one man dead on QEW near Oakville. Man injured, suspect arrested after stabbing at Kennedy Station. Toronto police to host series of town halls on race-based data findings. 2 children dead, 46-year-old man arrested in Laval, north of Montreal. Second-degree murder, charge laid in fatal North York shooting. 18% of businesses affected by cybersecurity incidents last year. Poilievre asks Trudeau to show some mercy to Canadians amid rising cost of living. These were the headlines, and let's jump right into the detail. A 77-year-old man is dead after flying. A wheel crashed into a vehicle on Queen Elizabeth Way Highway Tuesday afternoon. It happened in the eastbound lanes near Winston Churchill Boulevard on the border of Mississauga and Oakville. Investigators say the wheel fell from a truck that was pulling an empty boat trailer at the time. The driver of the truck was eventually found in Grimsby a short time later. Investigators say it's possible the driver was unaware the tire had fallen off. OPP Surgeon Kerry Schmidt spoke with CP24 from the scene and called the incident tragic. Schmidt said the wheel hit a white Mercedes first before bouncing down the roadway and striking 2 other vehicles. The driver of the Mercedes, a 77-year-old man, was killed. Police said an elderly passenger was somehow able to steer the vehicle to a safe spot. It would have been a chaotic scene inside that car, Schmidt said. No other injuries have been reported. 1 man is injured after being stabbed on a bus platform at Kennedy subway station in Scarborough. The incident happened at around 11 a.m. Tuesday. Police said they located a man in his 20s with stab wounds that are non-life-threatening. The suspect, described as black male in his 20s with a shaved head, puffy jacket and purple hoodie, was located and arrested, police say. After a brief closure, the TTC says Line 3 Scarborough has resumed regular subway service. However, police remain on scene and are investigating. Toronto police will be holding several community town halls throughout the city over the next 6 months to discuss the findings of services' first ever race-based data collection strategy based on analysis of data collected in 2020 of officers' perception of an individual's race and use of force and strip searches. The findings were initially released to the public last June. They revealed black people were overrepresented in use of force incidents compared to their share of total enforcement actions by a factor of 1.6 in 2020. The statistics also showed that black people were 2.2 times more likely to be subjected to enforcement actions in the first place, and that the level of force police deployed against them tended to be more severe. Further, it found other racialized groups like Latino, Middle Eastern and Southeast Asian people were overrepresented in many statistics. When it came to the use of force, Indigenous people were also represented in enforcement actions by factor 1.5 but were slightly underrepresented in the use of force statistics overall. However, when it came to calls for a person crisis, Indigenous people were 1.4 times more likely to face force than their share of population would suggest. In 2019, as part of provincial government's Anti-Racism Act, all police services in Ontario were directed to begin collecting race-based data for use of force under the province's Anti-Racism Act. That September, the Toronto Police Services Board unanimously approved a race-based data collection policy and got to work. Police say 2 children are dead and 46-year-old man is under arrest after officers were called to intervene at a home north of Montreal Monday evening. A spokeswoman for police in Laval, Quebec says an 11-year-old boy and 13-year-old girl were taken to hospital where their deaths were confirmed. The suspect was also transported to hospital, but his condition has stabilized and he will be questioned by investigators before an arraignment later today. Police have not released his identity and have not said that the link is between the suspect and the victims, but a spokeswoman suggested late Monday investigators were working on the hypothesis it was domestic violence. The children were found just before 6 p.m. inside a home in city's St. Dorothy district in the southwestern part of the municipality. Laval Mayor Stephen Boyer extended condolences to the victims' loved ones on social media Monday night and said all the Laval is mourning. A new Statistics Canada report says 18% of Canadian businesses were impacted by cybersecurity incidents last year, down from 21% in 2019 as they spend more money to prevent attacks. The report found 16% of small businesses, 25% of medium-sized businesses, and 37% of large businesses reported being affected by cybersecurity incidents in 2021. Statistics Canada said Tuesday businesses most commonly faced attempts to steal money or demand ransom payments and effort to steal personal or financial data. 61% of affected businesses identified external parties as the perpetrator of cybersecurity incidents, while 38% could not identify the perpetrator. The percentage of businesses that reported spending money to detect or prevent cybersecurity incidents remained relatively the same in 2021 at 61% compared with 62% in 2019. More than 6 in 10 businesses had at least one employee responsible for overseeing cybersecurity risks and threats. As of 2021, almost 4 in 10 had consulted or contracted to manage threats, and almost one-third had monthly or more frequent updating of operating systems. The report was based on data collected from January to March 2022. Debating solutions to Canada's affordability crisis in Ottawa's House of Commons, during Tuesday's question period session, Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre asked when Prime Minister Justin Trudeau would show some mercy to Canadians trying to keep up with the cost of living. Poilievre focused his verbal attacks on housing and energy affordability amid the country's inflation. Trudeau said Poilievre had an obsession with attacks politics, which hinders the party's ability to support Liberal measures focused on helping low-income families, such as paying for children's dental care. While both parties share the view that Canadians need assistance to get through inflation, they disagree on measures to assist. For instance, Conservatives have repeatedly called for Liberals to stop increasing the carbon pricing scheme, for which Liberals say is needed to fight climate change. Plus, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh accused the Liberal government for not being prepared with a plan to fight the looming recession. To that, Trudeau responded his government has a demonstrated history of having Canadians' backs in times of crisis.
This assistance to those who need it. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Housing he's bragging about will go to almost no Canadians, and those who will get it will get at most $500. These days, you can't even rent a doghouse in the backyard for that amount of money. The reality is that this Prime Minister has presided over the worst housing bubble on planet Earth. UBS says that Vancouver is more overpriced than New York, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Los Angeles, all places with more people, more money, and less land. When will the Prime Minister get the gatekeepers out of the way and stop printing money to inflate our housing market?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the official opposition makes a big show about being concerned about families, but if he actually wanted to support low-income families, he'd step up and support our measures to give from our housing benefit, additional help on the housing benefit. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, not only does the Leader of the opposition not support those measures to help low-income families with real money this fall, he's blocking their passage in the House, preventing anyone from getting that money.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This is the Prime Minister that's blocking people from actually getting a house. It's $2,000 to rent an apartment in Canada these days, $1 million for a home in Toronto, an average place. And now he wants to make it more expensive to heat homes by tripling the carbon tax. Even the Liberal Premier in Newfoundland and Labrador has said that rural seniors will struggle to keep the heat on. Will the Prime Minister show some mercy for those people who are struggling to heat their homes and cancel his plan to triple the tax?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition's obsession with attack politics means that measures that are focused on helping low-income families pay for the cost of dental care for their kids with an extra $1,300 over the next 2 years, or an extra $500 for low-income renters that'll hit about 1.8 million Canadians across this country. Not only is he not supporting those concrete measures, like he flip-flopped, reversed himself and supported our GST credit that's supporting Canadians, he's not only not supporting dental and rental, he's actually blocking its passage in the House.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The question was about home heating. This Prime Minister wants to triple the tax on seniors for the crime of heating their homes in February. It is not a luxury to heat your home in Canada in the wintertime, yet the Prime Minister wants to punish people for doing it. 40% of Atlantic Canadians are living in energy poverty, yet the Prime Minister wants to hit them all with a big, fat tax hike. If he's not going to back down on his plan to triple the tax, will at least he have the decency to exempt home heating this winter from that tax hike?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, it's important that as we debate in this House, we ground ourselves in facts. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, an average family in this country receives more money from us putting a price on carbon pollution than they pay. It is support for families even as we fight climate change. In the Leader's own riding, families have received, including just last Friday with the latest check, a total of $550 because of the climate action incentive. We will continue to fight climate change. We will continue to put more money in the pockets of families.
But the government doesn't have a plan to deal with the recession. The Minister of Finance admits that one is coming, and we need a plan. Right now, the current EI system, the one brought in by the Conservatives, only covers 40% of Canadians. We need a plan that covers all Canadians. So will this government put into place a plan to deal with the recession that supports families and ensures that every worker in our country is covered if they lose a job?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this government demonstrated time and time again over the past 7 years that we have Canadians' backs, whether it was with lowering costs whether it was lowering taxes for the middle class and raising them on the wealthiest 1%, whether it was delivering a Canada Child benefit that has lifted millions of Canadians out of poverty. The things that we have done continue to focus on having Canadians' backs. Through the pandemic, we supported them with unheard of direct supports to manage to make sure not only Canadians kept safe, but our economy rebounded faster than other places, and we will continue to be there through the troubled waters ahead. We will be there for Canadians as we all.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Kubra Ali. I'll see you back tomorrow, same time, same channel. Have a good night.